Hello, hello. Welcome to ReHuman Podcast. I'm here with the amazing Michael Saine, aka Mickey Angels. I'm so excited about this connection. We just saw each other last week, and he just does amazing work. He's very inspiring. He's hardworking. He's a genius, and I cannot wait for you all to learn more about him and his work with P2P and his work outside of P2P. So, Mickey, would you mind sharing a bit more about yourself and, let the world know who you are?
Perfect. First of all, thank you for having me on. It's always such a privilege to talk with people and come back behind the scenes. What I do for a living is I work with marketing contracts. Obviously, P2P is my primary contract, and it's something I'm extremely passionate about. And it's extremely important that we amplify these voices. I'm also involved in Unlock Higher Ed and STEM opportunities. What I do is the communication supervisor, marketing leader, whichever term or title I get, is I get the privilege of going behind the scenes. I program websites, I build blogs, I build socials. I get the chance to take the heroes that are out there and amplify their voices and put them on a bigger stage so that we can see what's happening in the world, and we can see examples of where things are going right. If we think about this, often people who are system impacted are put in situations where they're introduced to factories or they're introduced to jobs and told to do the lowest of the low. But the bottom line is there's so much talent that we have. There's so much that we can do, and amplifying that and demonstrating that to the world is the type of things that we need to do, because second chance is extremely important. If we dismiss somebody because we're not acknowledging their talents, because they made a mistake in their past or they found themselves inside of a situation, then we are doing ourselves a disservice as a society. We know that after we get system impacted people education or give them what is often called a first chance, because of the cradle to prison pipeline, often individuals find themselves trapped in a situation where it's almost they lose their agency and chance. By getting them educations, by getting them choices and ideas, we have found that recidivism, by the time you hit a master's degree, drops down to 0.0002%. The bottom line is there are so many amazing skills out there, and those skills can be good or they can be used badly. Everything is just a skill at the end of the day, and getting people forward and moving and marketing is my job, my pleasure, and my passion for everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Mickey. Would you mind letting us know how did you get started with P2P?
So it's actually interesting. I was in cohort 23. Obviously, I would not do any cohort that wasn't Michael Jordan's number. Just joking. But
I,
finally,
I
once I
believe you, though. I know how fast you are about Michael and the Bulls. So,
It's really hard. I made it through the Ron Artest days, and if you've made it through the Ron Artest days, it's always just going up. Catch me on the flip, and I will convince you why they'll be the NBA champions every single year, regardless of our chance.
I
But
love that about you.
I digress. I guess I just have something for the underdog.
Hmm.
What was your question again?
How you initially got started with P2P and Dr. Andres and the movement.
Perfect. So I joined a cohort, and I have a locked social media account, but I tend to be somebody who is always on the go, somebody who is using their time wisely, and someone who's advocating. You can follow me on social media. Obviously, you told my Facebook, my LinkedIn is Michael Saine, but you can see that I'm involved in things. When Jessica Snow, our path communication supervisor, was moving to a different role, she gave me a call and she asked me if I would like to take over the socials. It was right after COVID, and I was just graduating with my master's in science for cybersecurity technologies. And I was really excited to find a job. I'm not going to lie, and please, no one go back too far and look at my work, because my original graphic works and my original write ups were not the world's best. But I understood the idea of the algorithm, using hashtags, building around that, and talking to the system in a way that promoted what we were doing. Thankfully, Jessica stayed on in a part-time role, helping and mentoring me and pushing me through it. She is an English teacher. She's an amazing woman. Shout out to Jessica. She was in also, I believe, cohort 23 with me. So we already had an existing friendship, and she kind of mentored me and helped me grow how I communicate and how I do it. And that has opened a lot of doors for me as people saw more of my public work, more of my designs, more of the things going out. I was offered a role to volunteer for Unlock Higher Education, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. I was also offered an opportunity on STEM opportunities in prison settings as their marketing person, which was one of the most exciting moments I had. I finally arrived as a communication supervisor at the Education Development Center working for the government. And if you think about a system impacted person coming up and suddenly they're working for the government, it's just mind blowing. They asked me for a background check, and I was like, but we already know what we're going to get. And they're like, we just want to make sure that we're going to get what you told us. And I was like, okay, but I still sweated that for days.
Mm-hmm,
I was
mm-hmm.
able to oversee the release of 6 projects. I was actually on 2 of those projects helping and aiding, which would become of something, which would be a derivative of what you see on the P2P website with the Speakers Bureau. I helped with the piece paper discussing STEM opportunities for individuals in a future settings. I was given an opportunity to write for Newsweek, which again, as a system impacted person, is just mind blowing. And right now, I'm working on my very own chapter that will go in a Bloomsbury Manual that advocates for the opportunity for system impacted individuals to take their place in STEM orientated careers. I think that we find at the end of the day that it is extremely important that we give these people these chances, these brilliance. I've long admired Dr. Adresi. He is what we all call a real scientist. When I mean real scientist, he's in a lab every day doing it. And for example, once I hit my doctorate, I will be a scientist, but I will still be on a computer working away at the end of the day, not in a lab in a white coat. And I think that his journey, I think the movement past his past mistakes, I think that the way he's marketed and branded himself and rebuilt his life is a shining example of what everybody should be doing right now in order to win and achieve. Every system impacted individual should have an opportunity and a chance in order to move forward. I like to talk about this. I gave a speech at the Rise Up conference. I gave a brief on social media, and it was definitively dry because it was more technical, but I planned it that way. It's something I did was I put a picture of Dr. Andresi when he was 20 years old up, and then I put a picture of him up today. His picture, obviously, I cover the ones that you'll see every single day. And I asked people what the difference between those two people were. And it took them a while to figure out they were both Dr. Andresi.
Wow.
Was just what did the system allow him to do? What opportunities did he find? Where were his talents being pushed? And one picture was very obviously from his younger days when, if you've read his book From Prison Cells to PhD, you know the incidents and the issues he went through. And the other picture was him today. And seeing that change and that growth in somebody is just so absolutely inspiring. And it's something that inspires me every single day. Writing papers, writing articles, putting that information out there gives other individuals who might not otherwise have a chance at success to be successful.
So, well, you already know I love everything about you, Mickey. You are the perfect example of someone that's gone through those challenges and one afforded the correct opportunities. You take full advantage of them. You don't just succeed, you excel, you go above and beyond. You're a marketing genius. I recall your presentation about the metrics that you've achieved through P2P versus competitors that are much larger in the space and how you continue to excel and supersede their numbers and I'm just thoroughly impressed with everything that you've been able to accomplish. I'm so excited to see your journey as you move forward in the future. I love what P2P is doing in society that they're creating. As a member of P2P's 34th cohort, I believe you're on like what 47 now. This is back in
We just
2023.
graduated 45 in,
Okay.
and we are so excited. 46 will be amping up. And please don't forget, we have the NAP project where we will be offering college credits and pairing with universities in order to help system impacted individuals and their families work together to achieve that goal. We have the B2B, the Bridges to Baccalaureate program. I think I pronounced it for the first time ever, which is actually offering the opportunity to start at Baltimore City Community College and move into Howard University. It's There are so many opportunities moving forward, and I'm just blessed to be part of it. I think it's really important. I have something called Michael Jordan syndrome. copyrighted term. Please don't use that. But basically, in order to succeed, you have to go above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
You have to create that opportunity. The word extraordinary is only extraordinary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you doing 110% every single day? Are you pushing forward in whatever your career or path is? When I mentor people, I like to tell them to close their eyes. I like to tell them to picture where you want to be and in backwards plan how to get there, because it is all possible. It is all achievable. It is just envisioning the steps between there and here. And if you're not somewhere that you're passionate about, like I love the work I do, I love the drawings I build, I love the additional posts. We're bringing up reels. I'll give you an exclusive. We just established a TikTok and put up the first video. We'll be discussing that later after we organically funnel a few more videos through it. We've got YouTube shorts coming, but these are all broadly outside of the range of the expectations of when I was hired. But because I'm passionate, because I'm sitting there every morning and thinking to myself, I have an extra 5 minutes. What is something that I'm building right now that will make things better for the future? Those are what makes me successful. Confucius says, find a job you love and you will never work a day in your life. And I will be honest, I will be frank. Sometimes you see 3 a.m. emails from me. Sometimes you see responses that are delayed, but you can tell that I'm always working in that corner. Easter Sunday, I was shooting out emails at 3 a.m. and I was like, oh no, I've got to get to bed because I literally just lost track of the time. I
Yes.
chuckle every single time P2P gives me a holiday off because I don't care. I'm still getting up and going over to my computer. They give me the time off, but socials don't stop. It's a 24-hour process. And in order to be successful, you have to be passionate about it. You have to be dedicated to it. And you have to be building something around it. And sometimes I'll be at the gym answering posts, or sometimes I'll be driving down the road. It's a 24-hour position in some ways because those responses, I had three scholars, or three prospective scholars, I should say. I already regard them as scholars as soon as I meet them because
Mm-hmm.
I already see the best in them. I
Yes.
had three prospective scholars message me on the P2P socials last week, and I started getting them pushed through our pipeline and through the system. But what if somebody wasn't monitoring that at 8 o'clock at night when that happens?
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
if somebody was picking up and engaging and moving forward that conversation with them? And it's so cool sometimes. Sometimes I get emails just thanking me for the work I've done. Sometimes I just get off socials and hand my cell phone number to somebody so I can reassure them and talk to them about the program. Because at the end of the day, when we're talking about the program, it's a real easy sell. It's a real easy sell. I just tell people there is a book that I love called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it discusses the two different lessons that are taught to two different children and how those lessons influence them. P2P goes beyond Rich Dad Poor Dad if you think about it. Those soft skills are what allow individuals to move forward and build themselves. When I left the facility that I was in, I was homeless and I had a beat up pickup truck and a load full of boxes. I had a friend who allowed me to stay in his spare bedroom while I was getting myself set up. But today I own my own home, deed in a safe. I have two custom cars. I have my retirement package done. I have everything taken care of and I am settled. But it's those soft skills that got me forward. I picked up my Jeep off Facebook for $4,000, rebuilt it in the corner as I cursed over and over again. I'm not always this polite. I am currently rebuilding and flipping my home to ensure eventually it gets to where it's supposed to be. But my willingness to go and exploit those soft skills, and exploit sounds like a rather negative term, but it's taking every opportunity to give to me, are the
Mm-hmm.
things that allowed me to accomplish it. I have 9 college degrees, including my master's of science, and I got those because I understood I needed to get educated. The cool part
Mickey,
about
Mickey. Oh my gosh, you're killing me over here. Keep going, keep going. Go ahead, go ahead.
our P2P cohorts is that's what we teach. We teach the soft skills. It doesn't cost money. We teach what Rich Dad was teaching about finances, except we talk about ACT, we talk about branding, we talk about resumes. We actually have a college professor go over your resume. We sit down and talk about how to dress. We sit down and get you on job boards. Then we follow that up with another multitude of weeks with a mentor and a tutor who are there fighting for you, creating that system for success that we all know we need when we sit down and read How to Win Friends and Influence People from Carnegie. I will not lie, I picked up a lot of my self skills in a corner, angry, reading books. And when I eventually got to P2P, I didn't have as many missing as some of the other individuals, but I still had something to learn. It didn't matter how many books I had next to me, it didn't matter what's going on. Those soft skills, that ACT prep, all of those things that we are doing are completely free. All
Yep.
you have to do is tune into a Zoom class. Come set and learn. Come set and have people pour into you. Come and have your own network built so you can sit down. You can see in the back. Even before I was involved with Unlock Higher Ed, if you look real closely at the pictures, you can see me standing next to Jessica and Judith, who would eventually become partners I work with in these different builds. You can always find me in the back talking tech with Jacob and giggling. Dante is always wonderful to talk to about the different higher level programs. That network is a part of what completes us. And as I've said several times, if they're not going to give me a seat at the table, let's make our own table.
Absolutely. I say the same thing, Mickey. And I just really love like your obsessive, your obsession over your passion and your work. I that resonates with me because I've been called obsessive, and I feel like I just can't rest when I have time to get the work done. Like time is finite. I feel like I should be moving toward the goal. 8 o'clock, it's time to get something done. If I get a submission, I'm not going to wait till 8 o'clock in the morning. Like I'm going to process that through. I'm able to do something else at 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's one thing that I recognize. At least with some, at least the people that I've been meeting with that have been directly impacted by the criminal justice system, when we have those opportunities that we take advantage of, and in a very positive way, we excel, we go above and beyond consistently. That Michael Jordan syndrome, credit to you, is there. And I'm seeing it consistently. Like you're referring to the works, you're referring to Robert Kiyosaki, Dale Carnegie. Like we're digging into this. We're actually applying those principles to our lives in real time and just making those changes. And you're building a better future for yourself and for everyone that comes in contact with you. And so I'm really excited about that. There's so many things that you said that I can't even, I don't have time to touch on right now. I would love to know more about what you're doing with Unlock Higher Education. I mean, I feel like we can literally do this like multiple times. We had part 3, 4, 5 because there's so much that you do. You're so innovative, very future forward. You're so hardworking, amazing communicator. People need to learn from you. Like you should have a book. You could be the Robert Kiyosaki. You know what I'm saying? You could be the Dale Carnegie. And this is literally just the beginning for you. And please share more about Unlock Higher Education, please.
Well, I'll say one thing, and what I like to think is everybody equals a puzzle piece. And it's my privilege to be able to support the individuals such as yourself with your new book coming out, supporting the individuals who are doing the job. Sometimes that is extremely important, and I love that role. And of course, I learn and pick up so much from all of you guys as I'm doing this. I can't believe the changes I make. But I will digress. I will move to a discussion on Unlock Higher Ed because I am extremely passionate about what Unlock Higher Education is offering next. At InChef, we were able to come out and discuss the problems and a solution we have come to it. As we know, President Trump and Elon Musk are in a corner and they're doing some things with the government. The Department of Education's future goal is to move things down to the state. Doesn't matter what I think about it. I don't control that. We won't even get into those particulars, but I understand that means that we are going to have to change the way that we do business. Classically speaking, we have touched forward with our federal legislators. We've had Hill days. We've opened great discussions. In the past, Unlock Higher Education has been a huge part of the ban the box movement, and we were so excited about that. But we have to understand how tradition works, and we have to understand the importance of it. Followers follow what's been done so far. They blindly follow and they say things like, this is tried and true. Leaders and innovators move forward and they look at that tradition and they think to themselves, how can this be evolved for a better future? So our next step in advocacy and education will come forth with our statewide collaborative effort. we are going to be hosting and building a group of advocates who are training and educating in order to allow them to facilitate intelligently at a statewide level. Not only are we going to give them the tools to advocate, we are going to be able to apply the lessons learned across the states. If you think about it, my colleague Barbie, who is also on Unlock Higher Education, and she's with THEI, I admire her so much. She talked about the idea of mushrooms. And what you find is mushrooms actually share roots. Even though you see individual mushrooms in the grass, underneath they share a root system. So what we are creating will be a collaborative effort where we train and prepare advocates and we allow them to discuss state by state what's working, what's not working. Then we're going to help focus them in the same way that we were focusing them in the federal level at a statewide level, where we're going to start helping them to communicate and build relationships with their advocates. A one-time visit does not always make the change. It does start the conversation, but it doesn't always make the intended change. So our hope is these advocates will be able to establish rapport and relationships with their legislators, continuing and building a conversation instead of a meeting as they talk to them at their state legislators levels, at their different county seats, wherever they are, they're going to be there to help and advise and give them information that will represent the ability to unlock higher education. And as we draw back and as we gather the data and their lessons learned, we will be able to publish that to our website and build a database of what's going on in every state that we represent, which we hope will exponentially grow as we move forward. I believe the last count I had, and I'm sure that I would be corrected if Elizabeth Stillwell from JSTOR was here, but she said we had 31 applicants in 21 states. That is already within our first week of gathering applications. We are covering over half the country. And you will be able to come to our website that we're adding those pages and those parts to, and you'll actually be able to see the current legislations that our advocates are engaging with. You'll actually be able to see the pros and cons and notes of what's going on right now. You'll actually be able to see the information across all 50 states in one united effort. So and I believe it will happen based off of what President Trump has put forward, it should reflect as the Department of Education shifts to a statewide level. We will begin to modify and evolve our approach to the states in order to affect change that eventually will unlock higher education for everybody, everywhere across the board.
Yes, that's amazing. So you had said something earlier about the soft skills. And I'm here at PCCD, which is the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency CJAB conference, which is Criminal Justice Advisory Board conference. And it's such a stark contrast here at Penn State and State College, like views of mountains and surrounded by law enforcement professionals that aren't quite as empathetic, I would say, as the people from the National Conference on Higher Education and Prisons down in New Orleans, in the city and the jazz festival going on and that whole vibe. And I segue that into just the difference in the mindsets. People like the red, the blue, right, left, or whatever the labels that people like you and I don't really like to subscribe to, at least openly in these type of forums. But just knowing like the space that you're in and how to wisely navigate that space to get your goals accomplished, no matter who you're communicating with, knowing how to adjust to various audiences. And I would like to know, and I would like the people to understand what is at this point the primary goals for unlock higher education in terms of various state legislators. Like what are our focus, what are we focused on right now with UAG in terms of
So
policy
let's talk
goals?
about a couple things. You brought a couple amazing things up. Let's first of all let's talk about the right and the left. Everybody wants the same thing. It's all in how we're discussing it.
Hmm.
We need to remember when we're talking to people who subscribe to the left, there's more of a humanizing and social justice movement, and
Hmm.
that's okay. They are aligned with our goals and policies, and it's assumed that the red side won't inherently be aligned with our policy goals, but they're really concerned with public safety.
Hmm. Hmm.
Why aren't we discussing it? I brought it up earlier. Once we see a master's degree, we see a 0.0002% recidivism rate.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get public safety if you don't give people an opportunity? And
Mm-hmm.
when I look at somebody in office who represents that red side, it's all about talking to them. Their platform is this. That's okay. What we want still conforms to your platform. We
Yeah.
are still on the same team, and we cannot shy away. I admire you so much for being in a conference of law enforcement. I'm
What
not
about P2P?
sure that I could inherently do.
Yeah.
No, it's a tough sell. I would struggle to do it. I would be exhausted and drained because I know my experience has not been positive with law enforcement, and my feelings about them are they are less empathetic. And I understand that there's some ideas about how to handle that, and we have to brace that together. But the point remains when you're discussing it is, I admire you. I admire you, but we have to talk to the people who we don't think would inherently support us.
Right.
If we
I mean,
continue talking.
but this is why I'm here, just to be transparent. PCCD for Project Phoenix, our new initiative for the Mastermind Co-op, focused on trauma healing, entrepreneurship, and leadership development. For this year, they have been our most significant funders. And I'm like, I need to know what they're doing. I need to understand what the background, the folks that are leading this organization, their most common stakeholders. Well, I need to know what they're about, and I wanted to get to know that in person. So I'm here and I'm learning. Like this is like a totally like immersive learning experience for me. And I'm realizing through some of the language, like the way some of the people here look at us, even the way people in other parts of Pennsylvania look at Philadelphians and the responses that they get to like are the way we do things in Philadelphia. It's almost visceral in a way. And it just kind of like feels like a sampling of the United States when they look at cities like Baltimore and Philly and Detroit and the way things are done in the inner city and like the majority of America. So to me, it just kind of feels like a sampling of what you get on a federal level. And it's a really interesting experience. And I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for PCCD, especially for the funding. And it's been a good time, but it's a lot different than NCHEP. It's a different it's a different crowd.
You again, you are so brave, and I admire you so much. I hope you are enjoying yourself, and I hope you're finding some time. P2P does work with some amount of law enforcement, and they have been amazing to us when they've been working in connection with us.
Mhm.
And I actually have a grant at the National Science Foundation where two of our partners are direct law enforcement, which is insane to think it, but they've been really, really good to me too. So I hope you're having it. I do want to segue or answer the other half of your question that's extremely important with
Yes.
unlocking higher ed and what the future looks like.
Hmm.
It's interesting. We had goals. They've been released on our website. We are working on it. We are talking about disability accommodations. We are talking about English as a second language. We are talking about fair and equitable pay for individuals who are currently incarcerated. We're talking about access to education. But the honest to God truth is it's going to end up being 50 different goals next year. That doesn't mean that they're not going to all unlock higher education, and that will be it. But you brought up different ideas and different territories and how that they change. And some of our goals are going to have to change per advocate. It doesn't mean we're writing goals that are outside of our mission statement or outside of what we do, but it's how we direct it. Possibility. And again, I'm not saying this is a problem with these states. We'll find out as we move forward. But let's just pretend California has an issue with disability accessibility. And that may become a primary goal in that state to discuss forward. Whereas maybe there's a possibility in Maryland, and Maryland is a very active state. Again, these are, for example, not literal ideas. Maybe we find that English as a second language speakers are not getting the movement. We know that there are opium problems right now in New England. That's one of their top focuses. You may find that in order to unlock higher education for people, the first movement that we look towards is GED. Because the bottom line fact is, if you can't get into college because you don't have a high school diploma, we have to be able to step back and understand part of unlocking higher education will be helping you with that secondary education part of the game. So what we're going to have to do, and we have 6 outstanding goals. They are listed for us. We understand a part of the evolution is going to be every single group, every single 1 to 3 people per state. So I don't want to use the word pair. Every single group of legislators, or excuse me, every single group of advocates who are out there training are going to have to help to come up with their goals based on the needs of the state and the needs of the situation. Because at the end, we have one broad goal, and that is ensuring secondary education is coming, that creates workforce development, that creates opportunity, and that creates those soft skills. And it is extremely important to get that. But under that umbrella of our major goals, how that breaks down and how we find the individual goals per state to get them up to level may end up being slightly different. And we understand that this is an evolution, that we understand it's about building advocates that are prepared, and it's going to be a growing process for those advocates. But like if you discussed it earlier, when I did STEM ops, I was rated as the top 2% in growth for a 501c. That means I was the fastest growing social media presence across the internet. But remember, I told you when I started, my pictures weren't very pretty. My write-ups were a little awkward some days. It's gonna be the same when we discuss our state level advocacy. We are going to start, we are going to build, we are going to refine, and eventually we are going to have a product that is leading everyone else across the United States. Because when we look at what we're doing, that is how we are going to further the future, and that is how we are going to build a better product.
Yeah,
But
so there's going to be measurable progress for sure.
absolutely, I want you to think, and we discussed this earlier. I hate bringing back up and bringing things, but everyone I mentor, every young man or young woman, the first thing I do is ask them to close their eyes and tell me what they want. So when Unlock Higher Ed closes its eyes, it wants to unlock higher education. Now we have to backwards plan and goal per state in order to unlock that higher education. And what does that look like? What does that build? What are the necessities, and what are the leaks that we have to shore up to achieve that ultimate overall goal? But I believe in us. Judith Negron is an amazing powerhouse. We have amazing chairs. Next Monday, we will actually be having on you and your entire groups of your authors for your new book. And we are leading the league. Last month, we had somebody from the Department of Education. 6 months ago, we had somebody from NETA, and she was the individual helping to write and develop and sign off of those grants. And we are bringing you the very best information that we possibly can right now through our monthly speaker series, which you can find on YouTube. And you can actually revisit what we're doing, and you can actually see the growth happening and get the information that we're broadcasting out 24 hours a day. Even if it's in the middle of the night at 3 a.m, which Mickey is probably still up typing away somewhere, you could just click it and get that monthly brief and what's going on across our organization.
I know you are. I know you're always working. I don't even understand when you rest. You probably don't rest. But would you mind letting us know more about what they can expect from the conversation with UHE as it relates to breaking chains and building futures, the work you're doing with the marketing plan behind the publication, and anything else that you think would be great to share? I mean, you're doing so much, so I know we're going to be on next week sharing more. I don't know what to expect. I know what the people are going to expect. I just love connecting with you all. It was so amazing to see y'all in person. It was just like the highlight of my year. And so I'm always looking forward to the opportunity to connect with you again, you all.
So I love that you say that. Next week, we are going to continue the amplification of the story. We are going to give you guys a chance to introduce your book, discuss it, and tell what your individual stories are within it. I know we're going to get a lot of you, and I know that's going to take time, but we find that to be a very interesting topic. Just for those out there, because I'm sure you know what's in the book more than I know what's in the book, because I'm part of it. But just for those who are out there, this is going to be amazing. From Prison Cells to PhD started out with a couple 100-page Turner about Dr. Stanley Andressi's journey and how he moved from prison cells to PhD and everything in between. a part of something that Dr. Stanley tells me all the time. He is constantly, Mickey, this is our mission. Mickey, this is part of our mission. It is amplifying the voices of system impacted individuals. It is extremely important to him to ensure that it's not just about his story, it's about building further, better, and amplifying those voices. And a part of what this new book is going to do is there are 10 authors with introductions written by Dr. Andressi for each of the authors. They come from over 70 applicants across the United States, and they are going to tell a smaller version of their stories. They are going to get their chapter. It is going to be their moment to discuss their movement from prison cells to PhD. Now, please don't get me wrong, and I understand why it's not prison cells PhD part two. Not every story ends in a PhD, and it can still hit in happily ever after. When I was 6 years old, I looked at everybody, and you're not going to believe me, but I said, I want to be a master hacker. That's what I want. I want to be a master hacker. I want to be a master hacker. That was my story at 6 years old. I just wanted to play on computers. As soon as they showed me one, I was in love. Fast forward today, I have a Master's of Science in Cybersecurity Technologies with an emphasis in penetration testing. I have all my competency certs, and I have 7 supportive degrees. Excuse me, 4 supportive degrees. Some of my degrees don't relate. That's okay. I get lost on degrees. I promise people I'll white out and just start mailing them out. I have so many. The point is, my happily ever after was holding a certificate from University of Maryland that said that I was a master hacker. Eventually, I'm going back for my doctorate. I have one more step. I have a couple of universities I'm discussing negotiations with. Nobody knows that, just me, you, and your viewers. But I will be moving. But remember, my happily ever after, my part, my end of the story was a master's degree. So we understand that not all that stories are, but all of those stories are discussing breaking chains. They are discussing a better future. I will not lie. I know all of the authors, and I have an inkling of all of their stories, and they are completely unique and completely fascinating. It's so interesting with these stories, and we don't think about this. We get this idea, and a part of what marketing is to break this problem. We get this idea that people are just crooks and they just have a cartoony face. They put on a black mask and they run around being supervillains. And none of that is true. Every single individual currently in a facility is an individual with an individual story, with a unique situation. And we have to break that stereotype and help them see that as people. Yeah. I am so excited. There are so many stories. I don't want to name any. I have a couple that I can name. I'm excited to hear what they're going to be or how it's going to read.
They got to tune in next week. They got to tune in for the podcast. They got to read the book.
The book will be, you guys are coming out in September, right? Your book is
published by Wiley. That's a big deal. I don't know how y'all work that out. I know Dr. Stan is a mastermind for real. So, but he made that happen.
Dr. Stan had a coffee meeting with Wiley and they talked, and this goes back to his priorities, which I shouldn't talk on his behalf. I don't want to get in trouble.
We'll get him on.
Oh, perfect. He'll tell you the story. It's a really interesting story. They offered him. It's also on our socials. Mm-hmm. But I am so excited to hear you guys speak. I'm so excited to step back. I'm so excited to let you guys see. I also believe that why every story is individualistic. I also believe, knowing you guys from the background, there are certain repeatable characteristics that are allowing you guys to succeed when so many of our brothers and sisters do not. And when I say our brothers and sisters do not, I am not rooting against them like I'm rooting against the Lakers in the playoffs right now because LeBron James is on the team. I'm rooting for them, and I can't wait for them to succeed and catch up with us. You guys have common threads. I cannot name to you how many people I talk to who take pictures with Dr. Stan because they're inspired by his story. He does not talk enough about how many individuals come to him and say, I read your book in a facility, so I believe I can do it. Maybe your story is something that sparks that change in somebody like me, Desiree. Maybe Kelsey's story or Nancy's story is what sparks that change in me and allows me to see it from a different perspective, allows me to do what Kevney calls shifting my paradigm in order to find a movement towards success. And I look forward to introducing you guys and to follow up. There's so many announcements that I wish I could make that I can't make because I'm just not even going to be that guy before I get cut out of the emails. But there's so many exciting things coming out for you guys. I'm sure you're already aware of most of them too. I can't wait for all of the pieces of your journey to unfold, but that starts Monday at Unlock Higher Education at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you go to the Unlock Higher Education website, easiest way is just type Unlock Higher Education on socials or the internet, sign up to receive our meeting. Go ahead and come by and hear what each of you authors have to say, because that is where the road starts to the discussions and the inspiration that you guys are about to create for so many different people.
Thank you so much. I'm actually like super excited, also relatively intimidated by the possibilities and the opportunity that you all have presented us with. And I'm very grateful, tremendously grateful to be connected with you all. Is there anything, final question, is there anything, any message that you would like to give to the young folks out there, to the old folks out there, to younger Mickey? Is there any final thoughts that you would like to share to the audience today?
I would love to. I cannot say this enough, and this is becoming a large part of the passion of my life. That doesn't mean secondary education is taking a backseat. We'll call this 1A. Community is so important. Building things, networking, creating a better world by participating together, by working together, by reaching across each other. If there is nothing else you do, build yourself an ohana, like I like to say. And I know I have a huge Stitch tattoo on my arm because I love that guy. He's my favorite system impacted person. Build yourself an ohana, because remember, if you watch that movie, he starts out that movie in a prison cell on trial as he is cursing out a judge. And by the end of the movie, he's surrounded by family and he's found happiness. It's all about the family. It's all about the community. It's all about the network. You don't have one, come get one. You can't find one, come call me. I'll be there. Whoever it is, build community and build a future and achieve your dreams, the things that you are passionate about, because that is what's going to make your life worth waking up like American Dad every morning happy. And that is what's going to keep you up late at night. And I just want to thank you so much for having me on here. And I am so happy to be a part of this. And I want to thank you so much for letting me kind of slip from behind the computer and talk a little bit. I don't normally do that.
Well, I'm equally grateful for you, Mickey. I love you all, genuinely love you all over there at P2P. I'm just so excited to be a part of the family. And I can't wait to see you on Monday.
Perfect. I'll see you guys Monday. Thank you.
All right. Peace and love.